Welcome back to the Messianic Hour. I'm Judy Seculo, and we are still on Acts 21 after our little rabbit trail, though. I just felt it was important to bring those things out. But again, we still got to remember that Shaul himself says, I'm not free from God's Torah, but under Messiah's Torah. Messiah was Torah in the flesh.
Right.
In
the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word is the Torah. In the beginning was the Torah is with God, and the Torah was God. Our Messiah is the Torah, the living Scripture. Right?
Yeah, and he's the Torah in physical form. He lived out Torah his entire life, so he didn't bring a new Torah. He brought a new understanding of Torah, of him revealed in it.
And he didn't abolish the Torah either. He gave us that perfection of seeing him as that. You're absolutely right. So, Judy, we know now that Saul takes the Nazirite vow. After 7 days, he gets ready to go into the synagogue, to the temple. And this is where things get a little interesting. Some people recognize him, and they say, he's that rebel rouser. They're from the Asian Minor area. He's that rebel rouser who's bringing all these Gentiles into our synagogues. I bet he's going to try to break down that middle wall of partition and bring the Gentiles into the temple. Now, we have to set the stage here, Judy. There's courtyards within the temple area. You know that. I know that as we've been to Israel. We've been up to the Temple Mount. The outer court, the largest of all the courts, where male and female could be, was called the court of the Gentiles. And they were allowed to go to a set wall, and there's this beautiful wall. Matter of fact, Josephus tells us it's a very elegant wall with multiple signs on it in different languages to make sure everyone understood. And the sign was very clear. If you're a Gentile, if you go past this wall, we're going to kill you. Plain and simple. Penalty of death by going past this wall. That became the area in which the Jewish people would go to, and then the women had an area that they would go to with inside of that. And so they thought, here he is, he's going to be bringing in the Gentiles, as he did at their synagogues, and he's going to cause this trouble. Well, we know that a riot literally breaks out, which is not very difficult in those areas. Probably years ago, if we said that, people wouldn't believe us. But now look what goes on in all these countries. You have all these riots going on very easy for people to get riled up in this community, in this area, and we see that take place.
Well, and we know that in Ephesians, Shaul recounts his being accosted at the dividing wall, but at this time, he's not doing anything. He's going in to fulfill his vow. Again, it's this miscommunication that's been floated around about him all the time, and they're just making assumptions. They're jumping to conclusions and figuring out, he's about to do something and create an issue.
Yeah, but what they accuse him of is what we see in the book of Acts here is that he brought the Greeks into the temple area and defile this holy place. That's a pretty serious charge. You can see that this group, they were radical in that sense. The Jewish community didn't understand with these Gentiles coming in, and this is where the problem came out. And literally, there was a riot that breaks out, and if it really wasn't for the Roman officials on guard there in the area being ready for the feast, Saul would probably have been killed.
Well, you know that the Antonia Fortress is on the corner of the Temple Mount, and because that's where they were stationed, they were able to see everything, and knowing that during the feast, there's usually some uprisings that try to come, they were available. And so if it wasn't really for a quick rescue by these Roman guards, I think he probably wouldn't have survived his last trip to the temple.
And so, Judy, the angry Jews from Asia Minor basically lodged 4 accusations against Saul. They claim that Saul taught teachings against Jewish people, teachings against the Torah, teachings against the temple, and brought Gentiles into the temple, not just into the temple courtyard, the courtyard of the Gentiles, but into the actual breaking over that line, that divided line. And so these are the 4 acquisitions that, guess what, in chapter 22, we're going to start dealing with those and seeing how those take into place. But this is the fact that they come against Saul in this way. Unfortunately, the church, many in the church said, see, he's against Torah. They fall into this trap that they believe that this is exactly what he was teaching.
Well, and again, it's so funny. Remember when we were kids and we all sit around and you do, what was it called? The telephone game?
Yeah.
You sit around and I'll whisper something in your ear and then you whisper it in the next person and it goes around in a circle. And what happens? It's never the same. It never comes back the same as it first started.
Right.
So Shaul's been out in Asia Minor teaching all these things, and people are not hearing it. They're hearing it second account, which, again, there's that telephone game. It's not going to come out right. And and every time it's retold, it just keeps getting further distorted and distorted and distorted. And so now you see how, it's really gossip. It shows what gossip can do. It can claim a life, and that's what almost happened to Rabbi Shaul here. He nearly lost his life because of gossip. People were going around gossiping, saying, oh, look, he's not teaching Torah, and he's bringing Gentiles in. So it's gossip, and it's false teaching, and it's also a little bit of fear because, oh, look, we're being overrun, because they don't see the whole scheme of what God's plan is.
Right. And we also need to bring out, too, Judy, that it's not against Torah for a Gentile to go into a synagogue. So when Saul was going to the synagogues, it even said there were those God-fearers, those Gentiles that were there. But even a God-fearing Gentile could not go past this wall at the temple. Totally different picture. But again, here the Jewish community lumps him up and says, oh, well, if he's doing this, he's obviously going to do this here, thinking that he doesn't care about the Torah. On the contrary, Saul was the Torah observant as you could be, and taught to keep that way. And it's the confusion that people have on him, because sometimes it appears that he teaches one thing, and to the Jew I come as a Jew, and to the Greek I come as a Greek. They don't understand his mind. He was almost too smart for his own good.
Yes.
Think about it. Here he gets pulled in. He has this crowd riding against him. The soldiers come in, put him in chains, and they can't get him out of there. They have to literally pick him up and carry him out above the crowd to see this. I can picture it in my mind. And then Judy, it's amazing because he then speaks to the soldier in perfect Greek.
Matter of fact, that makes him go.
Yeah, the soldier's like, wait, he must be from Alexandria, and then that puts him on the whole thing. Wait, I heard about this guy who caused a riot there. I wonder if this is the guy. And then he explains, no, he's from Tyrus, and that he is a Greek citizen. But then when he goes to address the people there, he addresses them in Hebrew. So we see here a very wise person who understood it. And we're going to see how he defends himself to say, no, he doesn't go and say, oh, yeah, you're right. I teach the Jews they don't have to be Jewish. I teach the Gentiles they can eat ham and do whatever they want. On the contrary, he's about to defend himself to show that he is the Jew of Jews.
Well, and kind of just fleshing out where we're going from here, the first defense we're going to go over in Acts 22. The second defense is in Acts 23. The third defense is in Acts 24. The fourth defense is Acts 25, 1 through 12. A fifth defense, which is before Agrippa and Bernice, is Acts 25, 13 through 14. A sixth defense before the Roman Jewish leaders, which is 28. And then finally, the last defense, the seventh defense, was before Nero.
Which is at his court, at the actual trial.
So finishing out the remaining chapters of the book of Acts, we're really going to see how Shaul defends himself in 6 different situations. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes, and will really give us a greater understanding of Rabbi Shaul in context.
Right. So, Judy, I want to encourage our listeners to go to our website, rabbiscott.com. If you haven't heard the last couple of weeks, go check it out on our page there. You can archive this show and other shows, and YouTube as well. If you want to see what we look like in our studio here, check that out. As Judy's shaking her head no. But until next week, this is Rabbi Scott
and Judy
saying shalom and pray for the peace of Jerusalem.